A compound deep inside enemy territory. Gunfire rips the silence. Tracers cutting through the dark. 7 American Marines kneel bound inside a dim room. Rifles pressed against their heads. Outside, 40 hostiles prepare for the kill. And on the north wall, one lone lieutenant steadies a rifle almost as tall as she is. 9 bullets left. 40 enemies closing in. Her orders were to wait, but waiting means death. The next trigger pull will decide who lives and who doesn't. Before we dive into this story, where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. Welcome to Grateful Stories, where tales of compassion and kindness are told. Let's uncover what really happened. The sun had only begun to rise over Port Sterling Naval Complex in Virginia. Dew clung to the edges of the training field as 32 SEAL candidates gathered in loose formation. Their boots pressed lines into the wet ground, the air thick with anticipation and skepticism. At the far end of the range stood Lieutenant Erin Hayes, 28 years old, the only woman in the program, and the first to reach this phase of advanced weapons training. Her dark hair was pinned tightly beneath her cap, her eyes steady as she checked the bolt of her M4. The men weren't silent. They whispered, traded smirks, and pulled out phones to record what they were certain would be a failure. Among them loomed Master Chief Daniel Cross, a veteran of 30 years, his presence commanding the crowd more than the rising sun itself. Cross's voice carried like gravel dragged across steel. Listen up, gentlemen. Weapons of this caliber are built for warriors who can withstand the recoil, the stress, the weight. His gaze landed on Erin. Some people here simply aren't made for it. The men laughed. The sound rolled across the range like a wave crashing onto the sand. Erin neither flinched nor answered. She placed the M4 back on the rack with deliberate care, then stepped forward when Cross barked her name. Center stage, Lieutenant Hayes. Let's show everyone what happens when theory collides with reality. He gestured to the long wooden table placed in full view of the class. On it lay 4 weapons, the HK-416 carbine, the MK-20 SSR marksman rifle, the belt-fed M240B machine gun, and the Barrett M107A1 50 caliber sniper system. Cross spread his arms like a magician unveiling his final trick. Here it is, real steel, not classroom toys. Choose your poison, Lieutenant. His smile was sharp, a blade hidden under years of discipline. Erin walked slowly to the table. Each weapon gleamed under the fluorescent lights that hung from the awning. She let her eyes move from rifle to rifle, pausing just long enough for the crowd to lean closer. Then she lifted the Barrett, 34 pounds of metal and recoil, a weapon that kicked hard enough to dislocate an unprepared shoulder. The men erupted in laughter once more, their jeers filling the air. Cross chuckled, shaking his head. That rifle isn't forgiving. Lieutenant, you sure about this? It will send you to the dirt before your second shot. His tone dripped with certainty. Erin said nothing. She hefted the massive weapon, checked the chamber, and carried it to the firing line with controlled precision. Her boots clicked against the concrete. The rifle balanced in her arms like it belonged there. 6 targets, Cross announced, his voice echoing. Range between 700 and 1,200 yards. 90 seconds. Miss one, and you're done. He folded his arms, content to watch the spectacle. The candidates pulled out phones. Some whispered bets, shaking their heads, already convinced of the outcome. Erin dropped to the mat, adjusted the bipod, and settled behind the scope. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1. The Barrett thundered. The recoil rocked her frame, but she absorbed it like stone, cycling the bolt smoothly. First target center hit. The laughter stopped mid-breath. Second shot, another center strike. Third shot, dead on. Fourth direct hit. Fifth perfect. Sixth clean and final. 90 seconds had not even expired. Silence blanketed the field. Only the smell of burnt powder drifted in the air. Erin rose slowly, lifted the weapon, and carried it back without so much as a glance at the crowd. But she wasn't finished. Without instruction, she picked up the M240B, The machine gun was heavier still, belt of ammunition slung across her arm. She dropped prone, shouldered the beast, and unleashed a controlled burst downrange. The rhythm was flawless. Every round landed tight, carving a path of suppressive fire that instructors drilled into men for years. She released the trigger, cleared the chamber, and moved on. Next came the HK-416. She engaged targets at rapid pace short bursts, clean transitions. The rifle seemed to move as an extension of her own body. Then the MK-20 SSR, precise, calculated, each shot cracking into the target zone. By the time the echo faded, every weapon on the table had been mastered. Not a fumble, not a wasted round. Erin stepped back, hands relaxed, eyes forward. No one laughed now. Phones hung limp at their sides. Their earlier smugness drained away. Cross's jaw clenched, his face tightening as he searched for something, anything to say. "Paper targets don't shoot back," he growled at last. "Real combat is a different beast. Out there, precision means nothing if you can't survive the chaos." His words sounded less like truth and more like a shield for his pride. Erin remained silent. She didn't need to answer. The demonstration had spoken louder than any argument. Then came the sound that shattered the moment, the sharp, wailing scream of base sirens. Red lights strobed across the training facility, alarms blaring in every direction. Soldiers froze, instincts kicking in, heads snapping toward the command building. The doors burst open. Commander Julia Monroe stormed inside, her uniform still marked by the urgency of the operations floor. Her voice was clipped, urgent, unshakable. "All qualified personnel, report immediately. We have a crisis. Marine reconnaissance team captured in hostile territory. Hostage execution window 16 hours. Extraction force launches in 30 minutes. The room stiffened. 33 trainees straightened, eyes wide, adrenaline coursing. The laughter, the mockery, the smugness all gone in an instant. Monroe's gaze swept the group, then landed on the weapons table, still scattered with hot barrels and smoking chambers. Her words cut through the alarm. "Gear up. Every system you just touched will be in play. If you can't handle them, stay behind." Cross stepped forward, his mouth opening as if to object. But Monroe ignored him. The decision wasn't his to make. The mission clock had already started ticking. Erin adjusted her cap, her face unreadable. A few minutes ago, she had only been proving herself against skepticism. Now, the battlefield itself would demand proof. Boots thundered as the candidates dispersed toward the armory, grabbing vests, helmets, and gear. The once casual morning had shifted into the edge of war. Cross's eyes flicked toward Erin one last time. His smirk was gone, replaced by something far more unsettled. He had mocked her in front of the entire base. Now, in less than an hour, her performance would decide not only her fate, but the lives of 7 captured Marines. And for the first time, he didn't sound so certain anymore. 5 UH-60 Memmer Blackhawks waited on the tarmac, their rotors screaming against the night sky. 34 operators moved in tight formation, helmets clipped, rifles slung. The mission clock ticked fast, and hesitation had no place here. Erin climbed into the lead aircraft, her kit heavy but balanced. She had been assigned to the fire support element, the unit responsible for opening paths when the rest were trapped. Across from her, men tightened straps and avoided her gaze. The cabin shook as the engines roared to life. Red lights bathed the faces of the operators, shadows cutting across eyes that betrayed nerves. Someone muttered under his breath, "Hope she doesn't drag us down." Erin didn't answer. She simply wiped the dust off her Barrett's optic, checked the chamber, then ran her hand down the smooth black steel like she was reminding herself of the weight she had chosen. Her silence was heavier than words. The commander's voice filled the headsets. "Target fortified compound, 25 miles inside hostile border. 7 Marines confirmed alive. Execution window 16 hours. The tone was cold, stripped of emotion, but urgency throbbed in every syllable. Cross leaned forward, his scarred face hidden behind night vision goggles. Rules of engagement: weapons free, expect heavy resistance, move fast, strike harder. He paused, then let his eyes linger on Erin for a second too long. The helicopters lifted into the dark, their blades thundering through the night. Below them stretched miles of hostile terrain forests, rivers, dirt roads lit only by scattered campfires. No one spoke. Even doubt stayed quiet when lives hung in the balance. After 2 hours in hostile airspace, the pilots dropped altitude. 5 minutes to LZ came the call. The men braced, rifles angled down, hearts quickening. Then the night erupted. Muzzle flashes burst from the tree line, tracer rounds tearing upward, bullets hammered against the Black Hawk's armor, sparks dancing across steel. "Taking fire," the pilot shouted, the aircraft jerking violently as rounds ripped through. Without hesitation, Erin grabbed her SCAR-H and leapt out the side door before the skids even hit the dirt. She hit the ground rolling, rifle shouldered, eyes scanning through her optic. 3 silhouettes moved in the trees she fired. 3 bodies dropped before her team had even formed up. Shouts filled the headsets. Return fire streaked into the forest. Leaves shredded, trunks splintered. The air was alive with chaos. "Sniper. Northeast tower," a voice screamed. Operators scrambled for cover. Erin had already seen the faint glint of glass. She swung her Barrett onto the bipod, exhaled, and fired. The .50 caliber roared like thunder, and the sniper toppled lifelessly from his perch 750 yards away. "Target neutralized," she said flatly. "Already moving." The main force pressed south toward the compound. Erin, calculating a wider angle, circled north alone. Her boots found cover between rocks and fallen branches, her breath even despite the weight of her load. She crested a ridge and finally saw the full battlefield through her scope. It was worse than the intel brief. She counted 48 hostiles in motion, AKs glinting under moonlight, RPGs slung across shoulders, 3 heavy DSHK machine guns dug into sandbag nests. At the center, a commander in a black jacket gestured sharply, marshaling his men with precision. Her throat tightened. If the SEALs advanced straight into this, they'd be chewed apart before reaching the walls. She keyed her radio, north sector, 12 hostiles moving to flank, 1 MG nest at grid 231-774. "I have clear shots. Request permission to engage." Static. Then crosses gravel tone. "Negative. Maintain your position. Do not engage." Her jaw clenched. Through her glass, she saw the ambush tightening like a noose. The main element pushed forward, oblivious, sliding right into the killing zone. "Copy," she whispered, though it tasted like ash. Her finger lingered against the trigger. Below. Enemy fighters dropped into position, machine guns primed. Erin could see the hand signal from the black-jacketed commander. One motion, and half the SEALs would be cut down before firing back. Her pulse hammered, yet her mind stayed crystalline. She had to choose follow orders, or break them to save the team. A rustle to her left snapped her attention. 2 enemy scouts had flanked her ridge, knives drawn, creeping through the brush. She shifted, dropped both with 2 suppressed rounds before they could cry out. Their bodies slid soundlessly into the grass. The radio crackled again, frantic shouts, overlapping calls. "Movement east, contact, right? They're setting up." The team was seconds away from being hit. Erin's breathing slowed. The entire battlefield was framed inside her optic. Men crouched, weapons raised, eyes fixed on the advancing SEALs who had no idea what waited. Her orders chained her to the hillside. Her conscience screamed louder. She exhaled, steady and final. Either she would act and risk her career, or stay silent and watch good men die. Her finger curled against the trigger, and she made her decision. Gunfire exploded across the compound, a storm of lead and light. Enemy rifles cracked from hidden nests, bullets chewing into the dirt where the main SEAL element had advanced. The radio screamed with panic. "We're pinned, casualties, need support now." Erin didn't wait. Her Barrett thundered. the recoil punching back into her shoulder as the first round slammed through a machine gun nest. A second shot tore down a sniper adjusting his scope, and a third ripped apart an RPG operator before he could fire. The battlefield shifted, but only slightly. Dozens more hostiles poured into the fight, muzzle flashes sparking from every corner of the compound. Erin dropped the Barrett, grabbed her scar, and advanced through the chaos. Each trigger pull was deliberate, carving down enemies while pressing them back. Her voice cut through the channel, firm and urgent. North Wall eyes on detention building. Recommend immediate breach while they're disorganized. Cross's reply came sharp, filled with command authority. Negative. Hold position. Wait for backup. Through her optic, Erin saw what Cross could not. Guards had already reached the hostages' building, rifles raised, body language signaling one thing: execution. Waiting would mean slaughter. She sprinted low across the ridge, pulling a block of C4 from her pouch. In seconds, she had planted the charge against the north wall. The blast ripped concrete apart, fire and dust swallowing the night. Erin surged through the breach without hesitation. Inside was a maze of narrow corridors, shadows crawling along cracked plaster. The smell of oil and damp stone lingered, muffled shouts echoing ahead. Erin switched to her Mk-18 carbine, compact and deadly in tight quarters. The first guard appeared around the corner, rifle half raised. A single suppressed burst dropped him before his finger touched the trigger. Another leaned from a doorway, 2 rounds center mass ended his move. Erin pressed forward, each step measured, every shot exact. She cleared a stairwell, climbed, and pivoted left. 2 more guards patrolled the hallway. Her weapon coughed twice. Both collapsed, their radios still hissing static. The silence afterward was deafening. At the end of the hall stood a reinforced door. From inside came muffled voices, the sound of men bound and struggling. Erin set a breaching charge, braced herself, and detonated. Smoke and dust erupted as the door blew inward. 7 Marines sat tied and blindfolded against the far wall. A hostile stood over them, pistol pressed against Captain Miguel Torres's head. Erin's shot came before the man even registered her silhouette. The round struck his temple, dropping him instantly. She pivoted, eliminating 2 more in rapid succession, then rolled across the floor as another sprayed wildly. Her final burst stitched across his chest. 10 seconds. That was all it took. When the smoke cleared, the room was silent except for the ragged breathing of freed Marines. None had been harmed. Torres blinked through his blindfold as Erin cut the rope binding his wrists. His voice trembled between disbelief and relief. They sent a woman. Erin handed him a combat knife, her reply calm and cold. No. They sent the right one. She moved quickly, slicing restraints from the others, checking each for injuries. The Marines staggered to their feet, some limping, others clutching bruised ribs, but all alive. Relief filled their eyes, though the reality outside the walls pressed hard against the moment. Erin reloaded, eyes scanning the windows. Through broken glass, she saw shadows converging. At least 40 enemies remained, and they were tightening a noose around the building. She keyed her radio. Only static bled through the channel. Jamming was in effect. They were cut off. Torres adjusted his gear, wincing from bruised ribs. Our capture wasn't bad luck. Someone leaked our position. His words dropped like a stone. We were betrayed. Erin froze. The possibility gnawed instantly at her calculations. If there was a traitor, then every extraction point could be compromised. Every helicopter inbound could be flying into a trap. One of the younger Marines, his voice still hoarse from captivity, muttered what the others already feared. If they know where we were, they'll know where we're going. The room grew heavy with silence. Erin's mind raced, tallying ammunition, scanning exits, hearing the faint shuffle of boots closing in from outside. 40 enemies, 7 Marines, no comms, a shrinking window before execution orders turned into extermination. Erin steadied her breathing, her hands already moving to check magazines and grenades. She had broken rules to save them once. Now, breaking them again might be the only way to get them home alive. The mission was no longer rescue alone. It was survival against an army. Erin crouched by the shattered window, her breath steady despite the weight pressing on every second. She pulled her last magazine, counting with her thumb. The Barrett had 9 rounds left. Her Scar carried only half a magazine. That was all. Behind her, the rescued Marines rearmed with whatever they had taken from fallen guards. Their hands shook, their eyes darting. They were alive, but fragile. Erin knew panic could break them faster than bullets. She outlined the plan in a calm, surgical tone. When I give the signal, you move. Straight north. Don't stop. Don't look back. Her gaze swept over them like iron, forcing discipline into their fear. Captain Torres shook his head, voice low but sharp. You're talking about charging through 40 armed fighters. You'll never hold them. His hands tightened around the pistol she had given him, the disbelief plain in his eyes. Erin adjusted the bipod of the Barrett, setting it firm against the frame. Her words were quiet but absolute. Watch me. The compound's courtyard swarmed with enemies. They were moving into position, confident, certain the Americans inside were trapped. Erin sighted in on the black-jacketed commander rallying his squads. The first shot cracked like thunder, the .50 caliber round slamming him backward in a spray of dust and silence. Chaos rippled instantly through the ranks. Her second shot punched through the chest of the communications officer holding a radio pack. Orders died mid-sentence. Lines cut clean. Third shot, one squad leader dropped, his men scattering like startled crows. Fourth shot, another fell, confusion deepening. The courtyard churned as voices rose in panic. Erin's fifth round found the flag bearer who had begun to wave signals to regroup. His body crumpled, the banner falling uselessly to the dirt. Sixth shot drilled through a fighter trying to crawl along the right flank, cutting off their attempt to encircle. The Marines inside watched with growing disbelief. In seconds, the battlefield outside was collapsing under precision they had never witnessed before. But Erin's magazine was dwindling. She rechecked only 3 rounds left. And then, in the distance, came the sound that changed everything, the pounding blades of incoming Blackhawks. The rescue force had broken through the jamming. Engines roared, floodlights slicing the night sky. Yet danger followed close. 3 enemy RPG operators sprinted toward the northern tree line, weapons raised to blast the helicopters from the air. Erin adjusted her scope. 7th shot, one rocket man folded before he pulled the trigger. 8th shot, another staggered backward, the launcher clattering from his hands. 9th shot, the last RPG fighter collapsed face first. The warhead never launched. Her Barrett clicked empty. 9 rounds fired, 9 bodies down. She rose, slung the rifle, and turned to the Marines. Move. Now they obeyed without hesitation. Erin led them through smoke and dust as the building shook under renewed fire. Grenades popped outside, flashes lighting their path in violent strobe. From the south, the SEAL main force finally punched through with explosives, breaching walls and laying suppressive fire. Shouts of American voices mingled with the chaos, the battlefield tearing open from both ends. Erin ran at the front, her Scar spitting measured bursts. She cut down 2 enemies who broke cover, then dropped to one knee to shield a wounded Marine limping behind her. Her shots carved a gap, forcing enemies to dive for cover. The group pushed north. The compound's gates were splintering. The explosions thundered behind them, the southern team hammering in. Erin's lungs burned, but she didn't slow. Survival depended on momentum. At the clearing beyond the wall, the Blackhawks hovered low, rotors chopping air into violent gusts. Their gunners unleashed streams of tracer fire, ripping into the enemy perimeter. Cross appeared at the edge of the fight, leading a squad to secure the escape route. His rifle barked in rhythm, his face grim as he provided cover. For a moment, his eyes met Erin's across the battlefield. He saw her carrying a Marine half her size, dragging him with strength born of sheer refusal to fail. The helicopters touched down, side doors flung wide. Erin shoved the rescued Marines inside, counting each until all 7 were aboard. Only then did she climb in herself, pulling the wounded man across her lap as bullets streaked past the fuselage. The aircraft lifted, straining against weight and gravity. The compound below still burned with chaos, but the Americans were airborne, alive. Inside the cabin, Torres sat across from Erin, his chest heaving. His voice was almost drowned by rotor noise, but she heard it clear. "If it weren't for you, none of us would be breathing right now." Erin shook her head, her expression steady. "I just did the job. That's all." Hours later, back at Port Sterling, the debriefing confirmed what everyone had seen. Erin Hayes had fired 47 rounds in total, 47 confirmed kills, 7 Marines rescued, 0 American casualties. The briefing room fell silent as the numbers sank in. Cross stood before the formation, his shoulders rigid, his jaw working. He had mocked her in front of this same crowd days ago. Now, his voice cracked as he spoke. "Lieutenant Hayes," he said slowly, "I owe you an apology. For every doubt, for every word I used against you. You didn't just master our weapons, you mastered this battlefield better than any of us." No one laughed now. No one whispered. The same men who once recorded her, expecting failure, stared in quiet respect. From that day forward, Erin Hayes was not just another SEAL candidate. She became the lead instructor for advanced weapons training. Her methods adopted across the force. Her reputation spread beyond Port Sterling, reaching units in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. Cross himself sought her out often, no longer as skeptic but as student, and every operator under her instruction learned the same truth. Weapons do not care about gender. They respond only to skill, discipline, and will. Erin had proven that truth not with speeches, not with slogans, but with 47 precise shots and the lives of her brothers in arms carried home. The silence that followed her missions was never doubt again. It was respect, unshakable and absolute.